Welcome to the Love Dog Podcast. I am your co-host, Raina Butcher, here with our host, Dr. Sarah Hensley, the owner and CEO of The Dating Decoder.
What's up?
What's up? Soon to be the Love Doc, relationship
Yes.
coaching services.
We are rebranding. We started with the pod, and then the Dating Decoder is going to fade away and be replaced with the Love Doc, which is the same business.
Just
new
different
name.
That's right. So don't worry. Nothing's going away. Everything's going to be the same. It's just going to be a different
It's
name.
going to be cooler.
It is. It's going to be
Have
better.
merch.
It's going to be better. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be badder. It's going to be awesome.
So awesome.
Yes. Moving on up. And speaking of moving on up,
Hey.
First and foremost, we want to thank our sponsor of this podcast, Cozy Earth.
So obsessed with you, Cozy Earth.
We are.
I mean, legit obsessed.
Yeah, and we're not just saying that.
I will never buy sheets anywhere else or pajamas.
No. And you know what? I completely underestimated the value of a good pair of sheets until Cozy Earth came into my life. And I will never be the same. They've
are
spoiled
so soft. They do not pill. They are temperature controlled. They don't get all like wrinkly and pull. They are just
They're sleek.
fabulous.
Yeah.
And you can just slide into them and they just make you feel like you're sleeping in a very, very luxurious set of sheets.
They're one of Oprah's favorite things. They're one of Kris Jenner's favorite things.
Yeah.
And they're one of our favorite things.
Heck yeah,
and we
Cozy
matter
Earth.
even more.
Because we're real people.
That's right.
We're not going to just sell out and tell everybody that something's good when it's not.
No,
That's not who we are over here.
No.
At the Love Doc.
Listen,
Cozy Earth is the bomb. It's viscose, or it's bamboo made from viscose. And they have a 10-year warranty on their sheets, which is really amazing. That's how much they believe in their product. And I believe in it because I bought another set of sheets from another company. They were supposed to be very high end, one wash, and they were not the same.
Yeah.
So that has not happened with these Cozy Earth sheets. I am very, very satisfied. And if you go to their website, you can use promo code LoveDoc for 40% off.
40% off. That's a good deal.
Awesome.
Yeah. And while you're there, check out their PJs. And all their other stuff. They've got, the waffle knit comforters.
Oh, I'm so buying some blankets.
Maybe after Christmas, I'm going to invest in a waffle knit duvet because I do love the duvets. But go check out their PJs too. They recently just sent us each a pair of PJs and our husbands, which we are so grateful for. I'm so thankful for that. Love free stuff. It's awesome.
Yes.
And then we just get to come here and we get to talk about how wonderful they are.
Yes.
So we're so grateful to Cozy Earth. Go check them out at cozyearth.com. And again, mention promo code LoveDoc for 40% off. And then post-purchase survey will get you a free pair of Cozy Earth socks.
And they're very nice. I love their socks too.
Yes. So great Christmas present.
For sure.
So episode 30. And it's a to be continued episode from our last episode, episode 29. And this one is titled, That's My Life, The Rising of the Pheonix. Dun, dun, dun. Because this is the story, last episode was your kind of the story of how your life unfolded and then sort of fell apart. And this is the story of your comeback.
Yeah, I kind of rushed at the end, so I'm just going to kind of recap.
You gave the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, I gave the Cliff Notes version. So where I ended was right before, where I stopped speeding it up was right before my ex died. So
yeah, in fact, you were right at the nervous breakdown.
Yeah. Let me back up from the nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
So basically, getting back together with my ex-husband ended in the worst abuse cycle we had ever had. In an EPO, we ended up having to do third-party exchanges through my parents' house. I went in to we ended up sort of reopening our case and doing a custody battle because at this point I realized that the drinking was so bad that he was actually being very unsafe with our children in terms of drinking and driving, etc. And I mean, I was just watching him fall apart. He ended up losing his job because I don't really know what went down there. I don't know why. I think he ended up having so many physical problems from alcohol. He was hospitalized like 3 different times for GI bleeds, which one of them almost killed him. The second one that he had while he was in the hospital from post-surgery from the first one. And if he hadn't been in the hospital,
he is lucky.
He would have been dead then.
Yeah.
But he didn't live too much long after that. I was dating a DA who also was in Somerset, who was an acquaintance of my ex-husband. So that was dumb because that probably caused him a lot of psychological pain.
Sure.
And I regret that a lot. And he had met somebody still having an affair with the person he was having an affair with me with while being with this new person. Ended up marrying new person. They had a very, very tumultuous relationship, but I don't want her to feel thrown under the bus, so I'm not going to go into that. But he married her 6 weeks before he died. They went off to Vegas and got married, and he switched over all the life insurance. And unbeknownst to me, during this time, he started using opiates. I think to get off alcohol. I think that's why.
Was it like a Suboxone situation?
No, I mean, it was OxyContin.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he had partied with OxyContin in early days.
Yeah.
And I did not see that as a red flag.
All right. Yeah.
But it wasn't an issue during our marriage, really. I mean, there was 1 or 2 times where he had gone out and I knew he had gotten high and it was a big blow up, but he wasn't like an addict during our marriage.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like he really wasn't. In terms of the drugs. Now the alcohol, absolutely. But she didn't know the signs. Like he couldn't be high in front of me because I'm like, your pupils are like the size of a pinpoint.
You knew.
I was smart enough to know.
Well,
in
y'all
2
been married
seconds.
you've been married
I'm like,
for a long
what
time.
have you taken?
Yeah.
You know, I knew he couldn't get away with that, but she didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't blame her that she didn't know.
Well, in her defense, again, not to completely throw her under the bus, I really felt like, one, she loved him.
Of course she did. She very much did.
Yeah, and that, like, she really wanted to be his savior. She wanted to save him. And she felt like she could.
Girl, we all did. Don't feel bad that you couldn't.
Yeah, and she felt like she could in a sense of, like, by being that really soft, submissive, you know, type wife, but that doesn't work either. Not with an addict. It doesn't.
No, because
they need tough love. I mean, they have to have tough love to a certain degree.
And that's what I gave in the marriage, but it also made him resent the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Right? Because then it was a parentified relationship. Then I was acting as his parent. And there was so much resentment built up over the years over that.
I mean, let's be honest. The only relationship that really gets you out of addiction is God. Is your relationship with God.
For sure.
Yeah.
And he tried, and she was very, very strong Christian.
Yeah.
And she really tried to show him the way. And he did. And I'm very grateful for that because I do think that he tried to come to Jesus. And for that, I could owe her his salvation. You know, like her being in his life could have been the reason why he had true salvation.
Yeah.
Because he was a believer, but I'm not sure he was really a believer when we were married.
Yeah.
You know?
And he was really trying at that time.
He was trying.
He really saw that, you know, he was kind of spiraling.
He did. And I think he was trying his absolute best. And I think that he had turned over a little bit more of a leaf. He had turned over a leaf towards me. So we had no contact for quite a long time. And then when she kind of came into his life more permanently and he moved in with her, we were allowing more custody and I was around him a little bit because I wasn't the target anymore.
Right.
I wasn't the target of the abuse anymore. And I was really grateful for that. He was actually good to me at the end of our life, at the end of his life. I think that was one of the saddest things for me was like at the very end, he was actually nice to me.
Yeah, things that were getting better.
He was like, he had been worn down and broken down and he couldn't uphold that tough exterior. And I remember the day that he died, I sent him a picture it was picture day in our youngest's preschool. And I sent him this picture and he was like, she looks just like Asher Beth, which is one of his cousins. And
which girl was it? Was it both
Lexi?
of them? Lexi.
It was Lexi. And he's like, we really made a really beautiful child. And like, that was like the last thing that he ever said to me.
Wow.
And it was a nice thing,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm so thankful
Yeah,
for
what a
that. I'm so
gift.
thankful that the last interaction was
Peaceful.
peaceful and kind.
And something about your children. The one thing that
Yeah.
you could always agree on.
Yeah. And so, you know, my daughter was telling me that, you know, things were still not good. And we were in the court system and we were still kind of battling it out. And we had just gone to a mediation because our trial had got pushed back. Our custody trial got pushed back. And so we went for like a temporary, I was like, I can't wait. We've got to have some things in place here. You know, like I still wanted breathalyzers. I wanted things. I was trying to give him every chance in the world to be a good dad.
Right.
So we went to mediation. We got some things in place. And then 2 weeks later, he died. And he died sitting in his truck, paying bills. I think I mentioned that at one point. And his uncle was the deputy sheriff who found him. He was like in a random parking lot. And he had just gotten high and he was under the influence of alcohol and his heart gave out, killed him. So I was the last to know too. Everybody knew before me.
I knew.
You
before.
even knew before
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, because the guy that you were dating at the time called me.
Yeah.
Because we knew, well, and I think, again, in his defense, it wasn't the right move.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't the right move.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about the
why?
DA relationship.
Yeah, he did. He called me first because I think he was trying to like mentally prepare for what your reaction was going to be.
But here's the thing. He had already broke up with me when my mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer about 4 weeks earlier.
Yeah.
So about a month earlier, my mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. We had gotten in a fight over him being a definite DA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once again, we had gotten in a fight about how he wasn't meeting my needs, and I was being very FA and was very critical. And we had gotten in a fight, and then I was supposed to go down there, and we were supposed to talk about it. So we hadn't, like, it was very unclear if we were broken up or not.
Yeah. I
At
feel
this
like
point.
it was always unclear.
It was,
if
yes.
y'all were together or not. I really
Yeah.
could never tell.
I didn't know either. And so I get to his house. We have this great conversation. I'm thinking, okay, we're fine. Then I get this phone call from my mom because she wasn't feeling well. So she was going to go to like urgent care.
Yeah.
She ended up going to the ER. And then I get a call from the emergency room doctor that she had a tumor on her pancreas. Which pancreatic cancer, you think, you know, it's a death sentence.
Yeah, there's like
sure.
a 4% survival
4%
rate.
survival rate.
Yeah.
And so that, after that phone call, he totally changed. Oh my gosh, you just need to
And
take
y'all
care of your
just had the
mom.
conversation?
Just had the conversation.
So typical of
This
the
is a
DA.
typical DA
Yeah.
because the emotionality associated with that, he immediately knew he couldn't handle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Immediately overwhelmed, uncomfortable. I don't.
Yeah.
And DAs are the ones that leave when you get sick. If you're gonna have a partner that's gonna leave and you're gonna get cancer,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a DA.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Right. Because they can't handle it.
Yeah.
They see it as such weakness and they don't want anybody to have to rely on them. They only want to be with somebody that they feel like has strong reliance and is, you know, has a strong relationship to self and can really be very independent.
Yeah.
And so he was just out.
Yeah.
And I remember driving home and being like, are you effing kidding me?
Yeah.
I have to go home and talk to my mom, who just basically got a death sentence, who was the only person who had ever been there for me in my entire life.
Yeah. Consistently.
My ex-husband was a mess, right? Going through major legal battles, trying to raise these kids that are being exposed to things they shouldn't be exposed to from him. Then he was just like, you just need to focus on your mom right now. Don't worry about us. Just focus on your mom. Focus on your mom. But that was his way of getting out.
Yeah. How convenient.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But again, I forgive.
Yeah. Again, well, you know, that was his capacity.
That was his capacity. He couldn't do it. And he knew he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But then also still tried to have a situationship-ish dynamic with me.
Yeah.
And it really tortured me for about a month because my mom was just plummeted into, okay, you have to have this major surgery. Luckily, she was a candidate for the Whipple. The Whipple was successful. The really high dose chemo and radiation was successful. And we are coming up on the 5-year mark, cancer free.
That is amazing.
I know.
It
Glory
really
to
is.
God.
I mean, it's a miracle.
She's a miracle.
Yeah, she is.
But also she dedicated her life to the Lord.
Yeah.
And I believe God healed her.
Absolutely.
Because
I think he did that for you too.
I think maybe so.
Yeah, I really do.
And that month, he tortured me.
I know. I remember.
Because I was like, why are you talking to me? If you don't want to be in a relationship with me, why are you talking to me? You know what I'm going through. And you're not even being supportive.
Yeah.
You're just like, hey, how's it going? Are you okay?
It was very surface level.
So surface level. And I was like, just leave me alone. At this point, at one point, I was like, just leave me alone. And then the freaking audacity of the night that my ex died, everybody was telling him, go up there, go up there.
Yeah.
You are only 4 weeks out from this relationship.
Right.
Go up there.
Right.
Her mom has cancer and her father of her kids just died. She doesn't have anybody. Go up there.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, we're not like that. We're not there anymore.
And
that was his response.
Instead, he calls me.
Yeah.
It sounds like another DA
Thanks.
behavior. Let me put this off on somebody else because I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. Instead of calling me, he calls you.
Yeah.
And tells you.
Yeah. So then I have to deal with it.
Because he was in a small town. He was in Somerset.
I had just found out. It was literally, I remember I was on my way,
We had just hung out. I just came to Jazzercise.
Yeah, because I had left Jazzercise. I just left Jazzercise, and I'll never forget. It's like, those moments that you have like big things happen in your life. You know exactly where you were going, what you were doing. Yeah. So I'd left Jazzercise. You had come to the class.
I did.
And I was on my way to meet my dad for dinner. And so I had just pulled up in the parking lot to meet my dad for dinner. And I saw a message on Facebook from him that said, call me. This is not good. And I'm like, oh gosh, oh no, and I didn't know, I'm like, I didn't know if something had happened with you and so of course I immediately call him on Facebook Messenger. And that's when he told me. And then it wasn't 10 minutes later that you called me.
Yeah. So my mom called me because his mom had called my mom. And then my mom calls me and my mom was watching. No, how did this work? I guess I had Lexi with me.
So it was your mom who told you.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
And I was on the way home and I'm glad that she told me, but also I kind of wish that I had been not driving.
Yeah, I'm sure.
For some weird reason I had Lexi, but I don't remember Lexi being at Jazzercise, but maybe
you swung by and picked her up. I don't remember, but maybe she was there with you.
Yeah, I must have swung by my mom. See, a lot of that night is very foggy.
Yeah, I'd say so.
It's extremely foggy. The moment I found out and immediately after, I remember crystal clear, but before that, I don't remember that much.
Before and after.
I must have swung by and got Lexi from my mom. My brother was at my house with Gabby because my brother was in town for my mom's first chemo
appointment. I remember that.
And thank God that was also a grace from God that my brother was in town because my brother is very logical, very rational, very good in a crisis.
Yeah.
Like my brother is the person you want in a crisis.
Yeah.
So clearly this was a crisis.
Clearly.
He can think very clearly. He is very action oriented. He's an extremely logical person.
Yeah, because he was the one that got us all together. It was me, you, him, Casey afterwards at the house.
Right.
Where we were just making sure that you were fed and the girls were okay and all that.
Yeah. So I swung by and picked up Lexi, but she must have not got the call yet. And then I was headed to my house where Gabby and my brother were. She calls me on the way to my house, which is just like a 6-minute drive.
Yeah.
My mom and I live 6 minutes apart. And she said, Sarah, something's happened. And I said, oh my God, what did he do now? And she goes, the worst thing. And I said, what? And she goes, he's dead. And I said, how? And she goes, overdose. And I remember I was on Todd's Road and I just stopped in the middle of the road.
I'm sure.
I just stopped. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I just stopped. And I just sat there and like cars are like going around me and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then she told me, go home. Your brother's there. We'll meet you there. But I turned around and went back to her house. And that wasn't the instruction.
Right.
I don't know why I thought I needed to turn around and go back, but I did. And then I walked in the door and I remember my dad, I was crying and I was just like, what? What? Are you sure? Like, what? And my dad goes, oh, Sarah, stop being so dramatic. You didn't like him anyway. That's what my dad said. And my mom had handed me 2 Ativans and a can of sparkling water to wash it down with. And I threw that can of sparkling water right at my dad.
Good for you.
Which he was a crippled old man.
But still.
But that was like him.
Yeah. What a low blow at like a really, really low moment.
Yeah. And that was just, to me, like looking back on that moment, it was the way he had rejected my emotions over and over and over again. You're just dramatic. You're just too worked up. You're too much. You're making something out of nothing.
Your children's father had just died. How is that nothing?
He had dementia.
Yeah.
He had no filter. He was probably high on his own meds.
Yeah.
He was
yeah.
I mean, talk about somebody with no capacity.
Yeah.
Right?
There's not, there
zero
was
capacity to think or move, basically.
Yeah.
And then I remember driving home and my brother being there. I remember my brother giving me a cannabis gummy after I had taken 2 Ativan. Because he had brought them for my mom because she was throwing up chemo.
Right. Yeah.
So he brought them for my mom. It was legal in Illinois where he lives. I had never had a cannabis gummy before.
Yeah. I remember.
So I was knocked the fuck out.
Yeah, it was kind of a blur.
He said, I'm going to put the kids to bed. I was like, how am I going to tell my kids? Did we order a pizza? I have no memory of that.
We ordered a pizza.
I have no memory of the pizza.
Yeah. And then we just like sat in a powwow on the floor. It was like, and like you just cried like the rest of the night.
I don't remember any of that.
Yep.
I remember you guys tucking me in.
Yep. I remember that too. But for a minute, like it was like we all stayed up, we talked and let you just kind of vent and get it all out. We ordered the pizza, like, and the 4 of us just kind of sat in a powwow on the floor. Yeah.
I don't remember eating a pizza.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting a little bit emotional.
It's okay. It's okay. It is emotional.
Because all I could think about was how the heck am I going to tell Gabby?
I remember. I think that was your biggest concern, honestly.
I could live without him.
Right. Sure.
But how am I going to tell her my daughter dad's dead? So I called her therapist because she was in therapy because of him being an alcoholic and all this stuff.
And
the next day, I didn't wake up till like 10 o'clock the next day. I mean, my brother had taken the kids to school and I just woke up in a fog and I like did not know what was going on. And I was like, I guess this really happened. Like, and I called her therapist and we got her an appointment and my mom and me took her and then we told her a therapist, which is the worst memory of my whole life. That's the worst. The look on her face is just like, I will never, ever, ever get that look out of my brain. Ever. Yeah. Just of complete terror and shock.
Yeah.
And then we started the Sarah's downward spiral into what ended up into the nervous breakdown, which was I just there were because if somebody doesn't have a will, their estate is a mess.
If they don't have a trust.
Yeah.
A will won't even do it.
Yeah, no, you have to have a trust, which is what I have now. Thank God. So the very first thing my brother took on was, well, Sarah, don't worry. He has $500,000 of life insurance. You and the girls are going to be okay.
Yeah.
Remember, you all have life insurance.
Right.
And I remember when he was hospitalized like a month earlier, or maybe a month and a half earlier, I said, we still have this policy. It's still my policy, right? And he's like, yeah. He switched it all over to New Life.
Yeah, I know that was a low blow too.
And I guess some of the policies he's let expire because there were several policies, but a couple he didn't. So we didn't see any of that money, which is fine.
Yeah.
At that time, that was like,
It was a lot.
it was like, how am I going to raise these kids? What am I going to do?
Right.
But thank goodness for Social Security death benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just spiraled.
Mm-hmm.
I was not eating.
Mm-hmm.
I was over exercising.
Mm-hmm.
I was
The caregiver of your mother.
the caregiver of my mom.
Mm-hmm.
2 grieving children.
While you're grieving.
I was very quickly running out of money.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had spent
You had a
everything
stressful job.
I had on the custody battle.
Yeah.
I did have a somewhat stressful job.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day so that was the end of September. It was the end of January. Oh, the DA came back,
No.
right?
Yeah. A lot. I feel like he came in and out a lot.
Yeah.
I can't even keep up with that timeline.
We did New Year's together.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah. He was like, I can't be without you. I want to be with you. And I was like, oh, thank God. I have somebody I can lean
Right.
into.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
That lasted like 3 weeks,
Yeah.
2 weeks.
2.2 seconds.
Because everything he said he was going to do. Like,
Yeah.
just call me every day, dude.
Yeah. I remember.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Couldn't
yeah.
just pick up the damn phone and give me a call.
No. He
At the literal lowest point in my life.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't know. I'm so busy.
Mm-hmm. That was always his excuse. I'm so busy. I can't.
Yeah. Well, let me give you a little insight to yourself if this dude ever listens to this. And he was not a horrible person. He's not a
he's
bad
a good
guy.
person.
He's a good person. So I don't hate on him. But dude, your workaholism is what you use to distract yourself from feeling any real feelings
It's a
and
coping
having
mechanism.
to actually participate in an intimate relationship. So just so you know that. Okay. Here we go.
Yes.
So he was a business owner. I'm a business owner, but guess what?
You prioritize your
I
husband.
prioritize my husband every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
every single day.
Because you know it's important.
And I bet my business makes more money than his business
yeah.
does.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Which is, no, I shouldn't brag about that. But
No.
it's just making a point
Yeah.
of like, if you really want to do it, you can do it.
yes.
Especially when you're the freaking owner.
Yeah.
When you're the owner operator, guess what?
Yeah.
You're your own boss.
He was just distracting himself.
He was distracting himself. And I think my emotionality, once again, was too much.
Well, and knowing what you know now, I mean, again, back then, you still had all the knowledge, even
All
then.
the knowledge. No
You'd
ability
studied
to
it.
execute.
Yeah, you'd studied it. You had all the knowledge in the world. Maybe more knowledge than, the average person. But
For
you
sure.
still spiraled.
I did.
And hit rock bottom.
I did.
And I even remember, I can't remember. I knew it was bad. I knew it was bad anyway, but I knew it was really bad when it was like in the middle of the day one day. I think the girls were at school, and this was during COVID too, which added to it.
Yeah, so we were all locked down.
Yeah, COVID added to the stress of it. But so I was working from home, and you'd stopped by, like it was like 3:00 or 2:00. I don't remember, and you just came to my front door and you were shaking. You were shaking like a leaf. And it really, I can think about like that image. And if you can think about what somebody would look like who was on the verge of a nervous breakdown, like that's where you were.
Yeah.
And I knew it was bad. And then I knew it was bad when you called me and you were like, I want to die. Like, I want to die.
Yeah.
And that's when you had gotten sick.
Yeah. So the breakup was, it was like the final straw. Like, I was so resentful because I was like, how could you spend a year and a half with somebody and then at the lowest point in their life, you can't even give them a call during the day? It just didn't make any sense to me. But but knowing he's a DA.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But me not knowing how to be secure myself. So if I knew all this knowledge, this is why knowledge doesn't equal healing. And I say this all the time. If you go to a counselor or a coach and all they're doing is giving you more information about how you're screwed up, that does not help you fix it.
Right. No.
It doesn't. Because these are deep ingrained patterns in the brain. And if you don't know how to shift and like literally rewire your brain towards something new, you're just going to keep going down those old grooves, those old pathways.
Yep.
So that was my problem.
Yep.
My actual arrogance was like, well, I know he's a DA and I know what DAs want and need, so I'm just going to give it to him. And I think that's probably why he kept coming back to me, because I was able to meet his needs pretty well.
Yeah.
But in the process, I abandoned all of my own.
Absolutely. You were completely self-abandoned at that point.
Completely self-abandoned all of my needs. But he kept coming back to me because I was probably the only one that understood him. And nobody else really had.
And again, that kept you hanging on because, I mean, that soothes the FA's betrayal wound when that person just keeps coming back and keeps coming back.
Right.
They're like,
says,
okay,
I'm going to do better.
Yes.
And you believe them.
I'm soothed now.
Right. Yeah. And so when I had it was the final straw. I was like, dude, no. Like, I can't.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
And
he still didn't. He would still like your stuff and like look at all your stuff.
he did the DA creep forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did the DA creep forever.
Yeah.
Until I think I had you tell him, like,
just leave her alone, dude.
yeah.
Just stop.
Yeah.
Just stop. Just leave her alone.
Like, you're causing more pain.
Yeah.
Than you are good.
Yeah.
Because you are maintaining a connection that's not a real connection.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just hurts her.
It's just hurtful at this point. So yeah. So then I woke up one day at the end of January and I couldn't see, and it felt like I was on a boat or like walking on a trampoline. And I was like, what the heck is this? And I
something
thought,
else?
Yeah. And I went to the doctor and they said, oh, you have fluid in your ear. No big deal. Give you an antibiotic. Didn't help. Went to doctors again. They're like, well, your ears look fine. I don't know. It must be some kind of sinus issue or something. They were going to put me on all these meds. I was like, it's not in my ears. Something else is wrong. Went and got a CT scan, an MRI scan, totally normal. They're like, we have no idea. So they made me another appointment at ENT. Finally went to EMT, and this sweet EMT, who's actually your dad's doctor,
Yeah, I've seen
Dr.
her too.
McNulty.
Yep.
Thank you for giving me a diagnosis.
She's helped me too.
She was like, you have vestibular migraine, and we don't know what causes it, and we don't know how to fix it. So sorry, but you can try this med. Was basically it. She was very sweet,
but
she was also very truthful.
Right.
That this is a very
Again, they only have so many tools in their toolbox.
Right. This is a rare form of migraine. And then I did something really bad, which is I bought a book on it. And when I tell you that book freaked me out, because it basically said, this book said, when you come down with vestibular migraine, your nervous system is so broken that you've reached what's called central sensitization, which means that your brain is oversensitive. Like your brain has become so traumatized that it's just the tiniest little stimulus is making it react into this migraneous reaction. And I'm like, but it's 24/7. And they said once it's in this book, I think I ended up burning it when I was better. Because it basically said this is lifelong. Because once it starts, it's like a chain reaction, and they just keep coming and they keep coming and they keep coming. And once you're in that come over and over and over again, we don't know how to get people out of it. Here's some things you can try. Change your diet. They put me on this super restrictive diet. Remember how skinny I got?
Yes. And you were like super crunchy, and like you were like,
I couldn't eat anything.
No. And you like eliminated all chemicals out of your life. And again, we've talked about this before. Sometimes the stress of trying to do all those things just adds to
the stress of going down the holistic rabbit hole to heal me was doing more harm than good, because it was all stress based.
Yep.
Every single bit of it was stress and trauma.
Yep.
And so I'm sitting here trying to figure out like how to heal my gut when it's like, no, you gotta heal your brain. You gotta heal your nervous system.
Yeah.
You gotta figure out how to actually process this trauma.
All right.
So of course I'm in therapy. I kind of feel like I tried everything. I tried a little EMDR, just a little bit. It didn't do anything. I tried ART. It didn't do anything, which is accelerated resolution therapy for serious trauma.
What does that consist of? What does it look like?
It's like EMDR. It's like the rapid eye movement, but there's different components to it where you do like story reconstruction, where you like change the ending of the story while you're doing it and all this other stuff. Was not effective for me at all. I'm not saying it's not for other people. It was not for me.
Yeah.
So I got down on my knees because I remember I really wanted to die, and I told you I wanted to die, but I knew I wouldn't ever die because I had these girls and I was never going to leave my girls. But I basically thought I was going to be just in a prison sentence. Like I was just going to be disabled.
Yeah. I mean, you were struggling working.
I couldn't even work.
Yeah.
Couldn't look at a computer screen.
Yeah.
I couldn't see a computer screen. I mean, I was the struggle to just read like one sentence on a screen. So I couldn't see my phone.
Yeah. And you were a professor, so you had like you
Of mostly online courses. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a shit show.
It was a tough.
And I went to so many doctors. And then, oh my gosh, my ex-mother-in-law, you just doctor hop. What is so wrong with you? Oh my gosh, she was so awful to me.
And you're like, I'm just trying to figure out what's wrong with me.
Yeah. She's like, no, this is just you doing what you do, which is trying to get all the attention on you when your ex has just died. I'm like, oh, fuck. No, it's not. It's really not.
I'm just trying to function.
I'm trying to function.
Survive.
I thought I was having seizures too because
Yeah.
the auras were so bad. The auras were like these bright light electric lightning bolts in my head
Gosh, that sounds miserable.
and through my eyeballs. Those were what the auras for the migraine, and they were happening many times a day.
You know, and it's so sad that you did have to doctor hop, which, you know, is a testament to our healthcare system because we break up the body in sections when we really should look at it as a whole.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure.
And it's unfortunate. It's not the doctor's fault.
Not a single damn person looked at me and said, "You just went through a severe trauma, and migraines are a disease of an overtaxed nervous system."
Yeah.
Not a single fucking
MD, medical
neurologist.
doctor. Yeah, neurologist.
said migraines
Brain
are
surgeon.
we don't really know what causes migraines. You know what I did? I went to the freaking literature on that shit.
Yeah.
And I came across Alan Gordon, Tell Me About Your Pain, his podcast, and I dove into his research.
Yeah, I remember
And
that
I was
too.
like, that's what this is.
Yep.
This is fucking trauma. Okay. Mission ahead.
Yep.
God, show me the way to heal this.
Yeah.
Or heal it for me because I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Pardon
Yep.
my language. But I'm not one to use the F word very often at all in my life, but I was fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. You were. I saw it. I mean, I'm a testament to it. I mean, which we've said before.
Like I was up shit creek with no paddle for
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
to quote my father. And I posted in a mom's group, met Ashley. We talked about that with my walk with God. So you go back to that podcast, our walks with God, and you can hear that story of how God
Right.
saved me because
Right.
God freaking saved me.
Yeah. But it's worth mentioning
God
again.
got me 80% there.
Yeah.
But then
But he gives you free will.
he gives you free will.
He wanted you to take
He
the
wanted
rest.
me to take the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So that's when I got really sciencey. And I started reading articles on neuroplastic pain. I started reading articles on attachment security in terms of how do you actually heal attachment security. Because there's so much good research on what it is. And then there's a ton of research with everybody having a different approach
Right.
to what to do. So I started my journey of self-experimentation. And at first it was really rough because I took all of this science and I was like desperately trying all these different things.
Right.
Right. And then you get like analysis paralysis of like trying so many things
Yeah.
and really wanting to see some quick results. So God, again, sort of spoke to me and he's like, it's simpler than this. Keep looking. So I really came across just the metacognitive work of really taking authority over my thoughts, which I was already really doing as a biblical principle. But then I had to learn to process my emotions while regulating my nervous system through processing. Because I thought processing your emotions was just letting it out.
Right. Right.
That's what we're told.
Like fetal position.
Like just cry it out. Just feel it. Just feel through it. And I'm talking about professionals and scientists saying that this is how you process emotions.
It's more than that.
Nope, it is more than that.
Yeah.
That's when I started coming across some science on processing emotions with neuroregulation. So pairing feeling the experience with sending signals to your body that you're safe. Because really the nervous system is just afraid of its own emotional experiences.
Right.
So, gosh dang, this tickle in my throat.
You're talking a lot.
Yeah, so I started doing that. I started processing my emotions and feeling my feelings while regulating and sending my nervous system by sending signals to my brain that I was safe while doing it. And that's when shit started getting really better.
Yeah.
That's when I started feeling, that's when the anxiety actually went away. Like for the most part. Like
Yeah.
it went away a lot, but not fully.
Right.
and I started feeling it, and I started letting, and it was a conditioning. It's called classical conditioning, which is the same thing as like the Pavlov's dog. If you
Right.
go look up Pavlov's dog, it's the same principle.
If you took
You're-
psychology 101 in college, you've
You know about
reviewed it.
Pavlov's dog.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Like, I'm feeling my feelings,
Right.
but I actually have to send my body and brain
But
signals
you're
that I'm
giving
safe.
the nervous system a different experience. You're
Yeah.
retraining it.
And before, what I was just doing was unregulated feeling,
Right.
which I thought is what emotional processing was, and that's not it. Doesn't complete the cycle. And so that was the magic.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the
That
breakthrough.
was the magic.
Yeah.
That was the capacity building. So we combined the metacognitive work with the emotional processing and neuroregulation, my faith in God, all combined, came out a totally different person.
And now here she is, folks.
And then took myself off the dating market for probably almost a solid year.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I had just started dating Josh.
you had, yeah, you were
You
all
were like, I want that.
and I was like, I was like, but no, I'm on a
It'll
mission.
come- yeah. You were like, no, it'll come to me when it's time.
And then
You kept the faith.
I met my husband like right after that,
Yeah.
and he's the best thing besides God and my kids. You know, for sure, the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And y'all are good. I
And
mean,
we're
y'all-
good. And then I started making TikToks,
You were like, well, I think you said
just talking about it.
Yeah, and I think you had this goal and this mission where I remember you wanted to do something different when we had first met. You were talking about, that you wanted to spread your knowledge and help people even back then, which was like 8 years ago.
Right.
But I think you started doing the TikToks because you were like, I can't keep all this power to myself. I have to spread it.
I have to let people
help.
know.
Yeah, because it's like breakthrough kind of
Oh, big
science.
time.
Yeah,
Big time.
yeah, where these really really smart professionals that you had even seen
Didn't know this.
weren't giving you the right tools.
I didn't know it.
Yeah, yeah,
And I went to school for social psychology.
yeah,
But I mean, social psychology is more about the science of human behavior. It's not necessarily about emotional processing.
right, right.
Right? But even clinical psychologists, saw them, they didn't, they were like, just feel it. Just feel it. And I'm like, I'm sobbing, I'm screaming.
Yeah.
And I'm not feeling any better.
Yeah, if anything, I'm just maybe dysregulating more.
They think I'm worse.
Yeah. I
Right?
think you did get a little bit worse before you had the
did.
breakthrough.
But it was really when I went down the rabbit hole of emotional processing plus the neuroregulation and how that classical conditioning of stimulus with responsive safety was so big.
Yeah.
And and then everything I learned in psychology, it just felt like came to a head of like, oh,
Yeah.
well, I've known about that principle for 20 years.
Yeah.
I understand the science behind classical conditioning and how you pair stimulus with response and,
Yeah.
all of this stuff.
It's like all the puzzle pieces started to
just
fit.
fit perfect.
And now you get to teach it.
Yeah. And then I started making TikToks, started getting a following. And then it was really my husband who was like, why don't you do this as business? Because, and I was like, I don't know how to start a business. He's like, I do.
Yeah.
I've done it before.
Yeah.
I've had several businesses.
Uh-huh.
He loves to start businesses
Yeah.
for a while and then
Yeah.
put them down, which is fine.
Yeah.
He's a retired vet. He can do whatever he wants.
That's right. That's right.
And then, started
Which was what, 2 years ago?
2.5 years ago.
Yeah. And here you are with
Here I am.
over 1 million followers.
A milli, baby.
Yeah. So she's got you've got right at 1 million roughly
Yeah.
on TikTok.
Yeah.
Almost 150K on Facebook. Almost 100 on Instagram.
Yeah, what's up with Instagram?
I
It's
know.
so hard to grow Instagram.
I know. Why is it?
What is
It fell behind.
What's with Meta?
YouTube is hard to
YouTube
grow.
is super hard too. But the talk is where I started.
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't try on any of those other platforms. We just started trying to grow those
Yeah.
platforms.
Yeah, this
like
year.
when you came on board.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's been not very long.
No, not even a year.
Not even a year.
And you had like 1,200 on Instagram when I started, and
Yeah.
like 700 on Facebook.
Yeah, it
or
was really
something.
pitiful.
Yeah, there was nothing. So we've it's just up from here, baby. That's what I always say.
And then I'm not ashamed and I shouldn't be, although, to say that this is $1 million business.
Yeah, I know. Even the other night when Josh was like, he got the reservation for Jeff Ruby's. He was like, "What's this?" I was like, "This is the Dating Decoder Christmas party." And I was like, "And Sarah's paying because I made that bitch a lot of money."
She is. She's like, "I think you pay me too much." I'm like, "No, I really don't. I promise you, I don't. I owe so much of my success to you."
You're so generous, though. You're so generous.
I feel like I owe so much of my success to you.
It's so much fun, though. Like, it doesn't feel like work. We're doing this together.
Yes, I'm the brains and the face.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
But you know the marketing and the landscape of social media. And
I just always say I'm highly organized. And so
you're
it's just
super highly organized.
And I
you're
have time
super
on my
big
hands.
self-starter.
Yeah.
You have an older child who's very self-sufficient.
So
Your husband works odd hours.
Right. It was the perfect match. It was the perfect timing, perfect match.
And I had to talk you into it.
You did. I don't know what I was thinking. I can't believe I ever thought that I second guessed. I mean, it's scary, right?
Sure.
It's scary.
You had a cushy government job.
It was a risk, yeah. And I had a cushy government job that I could have stayed at for the rest of my life, and probably eventually been promoted to some degree, but it would have required travel. Primarily working with a bunch of men who were all great, don't get me wrong, but I get just total time freedom now. I get to work whenever I want to work. I don't have to answer to anybody else. It's beautiful, and I get to do something that I truly love. And honestly,
I'm laid back.
I know. You are so laid back.
I'm like, whatever. Like, you do what you think is best, honey. I trust you.
And I always feel like we really are great at like just building each other up too, and so it just works well. And I cannot believe that I ever second guessed it. And I really think that, I think back to the 8 years ago when we did meet each other, and I had just lost my mom, and there was a lot of stuff going on, and just all the shit that you and I have been through, and again, life traumatizes us all. We all have our story, but our stories are so similar.
So, and there's a lot of private details we're not telling people.
Right, lots.
And some of them are eerily
very similar.
Tragic, but also similar.
Yes. And I just have to say, like, it gives me goosebumps when I think about it, because that small encounter in Jazzercise 8 years ago led us to exactly where we were meant to be.
This space.
Which is right here, right? And where we get to help other people. And we get to help other people by telling our story.
Yeah.
Which is super healing.
It
super
is.
cathartic for us. And then I mean, I know I say it all the time because I talk to so many people that call and, want to know about your services or just ask questions. And, to be able to talk to people and hear them say, thank you all so much for what y'all are doing.
Yeah, it's so
and
I get that in my group. I probably got
rewarding.
3 or 4 people last night just say, you have no idea how much you're helping me. Like, my relationship is already so much different just from the first 2 weeks of this group.
It's amazing.
And yeah, when I hear that,
it really, it makes everything worth it.
Yeah, because I think part of the reason I've been so successful is I offer something that nobody else is literally offering right now.
Yeah.
I bought courses on achieving attachment security. I bought into a ton of crap. None of it helped me.
Yeah.
And it's not what I teach.
Right. Yeah.
Because it doesn't work. Because it's just more knowledge.
Well, and I tell people when I'm selling you, and I say selling you, but it's not even, it becomes very easy to me to sell you, one, because I know you so well, I know your story, but you really are this triple threat, because in terms of the industry that you're in, because one, you do have the education, so you have the credibility. 2, you have the real life experience, which gives you immense credibility. But then the true triple threat is that you're a teacher.
I've been a teacher my whole life.
And teaching is a gift, right? Like, you either have it or you don't. And so to be able to take your education experience and your real life experience and put it together into this beautifully wrapped package and then share that with the world. I know I've said it again, but I'll say it again. Like, I'll say it over and over, and I'll never stop saying it. Like, you're getting a chance to save the world, and it's a beautiful thing. Your little space here in this life, in this world, and it's all the glory is to God.
All of it,
every single bit of it. But what a beautiful gift! What a beautiful gift to be able to do that. And I'm just so eternally grateful that I get to just walk in your shadow and do it
Oh,
with you.
hush
I mean,
up.
really, I am. And I can't say it enough. I sometimes I think, am I being grateful enough?
Oh, yes.
Am I showing Sarah that I'm
always
grateful
like, am I
enough?
paying Raina enough? That's what I think. I'm like, she works so much harder.
Oh, no, but
The coaching aspect, it is emotionally hard.
It's a lot.
Hard.
It's a lot. That's what I was going to say. Being able to talk to people and talk to the people that follow you and your loyal followers and the people that are listening, to this podcast every week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have no idea. Each and every one of you.
It makes it worth it because it is hard. It's hard to take on the emotions of other people and try to fix it. So we just thank you all. We thank you all so much.
Thank you for
giving us this life.
Giving me just the time of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, I never want to think that I'm better than I am. No. I want to stay humble.
Absolutely.
I want to stay grounded.
Yes.
And I know I am a lifelong learner, and I always have things I could do to improve and ways that I can learn. And that is my goal, to constantly learn, constantly improve, constantly provide the best service that I can to people, and to truly help people have healthy love. Yeah. That's all I want, because that's all that God put on me. And so that's my mission to fulfill. Yeah. And I want him to someday say, good job, good and faithful servant.
Yes.
That's all I want.
Yeah. So if you're looking for healthy love and you're looking for something different, and you're looking for the breakthrough of your lifetime, please go see Dr. Hensley.
I would be delighted to serve you.
Yes. Please go visit her website at thedatingdecoder.com. Check out all of her services there. Feel free to reach out to us via social media. There's a bazillion, trillion, gazillion messages, but we do our best to get to as much as we can.
To answer as many of them as we can.
We do our very best. But please, if you are loving this content, continue to listen, continue to leave a review. We cannot express enough just how thankful that we
grateful.
are. I mean, I don't know if it comes across through our voices and through the camera, but we sure hope it does, because we couldn't do it without you all, period.
No.
We couldn't. So thank you. And until next time, peace, love, and perspective.